Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, special kind of a day for us, not normal. January 14th, 6 p.m. Call this meeting to order. We would all stand and we'll be led by Councilman Strong and stay standing for invocation by Pastor Pat Sheehan.
With me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we bless you in this new year. We thank you for our Mayor Hammond, councilpersons Gregory, Bosch, Strong, and Beal. Fill them, Lord, with the spirit of wisdom and revelation and the knowledge of Christ for every decision before them tonight. Lord, bless and be with our police and emergency services personnel who bravely serve and protect us all. Give your grace to our city manager and all those whose labor for the city of Paso Robles benefits us all. Supply them with all they need to manage and care for the many needs in our city. Lord, we ask your continued blessing upon Paso Robles and its outlying areas. As the Reverend John Winthrop prayed for the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1630, I pray, grant that we might be a city upon a hill in these perilous times of discord and upheaval we see in so many cities across our land. And we ask this, Lord, in the glorious name of your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Pat. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll call, please?
Councilmember Bausch?
Here.
Councilmember Beal? Here. Councilmember Gregory?
Here.
Councilmember Strong?
Present.
Mayor Hammond?
Here. Next, staff introduction, starting on my right.
Melissa Martin, City Clerk, joined by Mary Sponholz, Deputy City Clerk.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Esperanza, Capital Projects Engineer.
Wyatt Lund, Recreation and Volunteer Coordinator. Brian Whalen, Administrative Services Director.
Maya Burns, Assistant Human Resources Manager. And Beth, Human Resources.
Paul Sloan, Economic Development Manager.
Karen Jackson, IT.
Ricky Lear, Manager, Class Police Department. Davey North, Police Chief. Gary Anderson, Deputy Fire Chief. Dan Malvis, Assistant City Manager.
Leslie Frazier, City Engineer.
G. Clark, Recreation Services, Admin Assistant.
Aurora Stan, Council Commission Member. Emery Reyes, Youth Commission Member.
And Arpan, Youth
All right, Chris Huot, City Manager.
And Elizabeth Hall, City Attorney.
All right, thank you all for being here. Tonight we have two presentations, actually three, but two that I'll be doing. First one's going to be Mentorship of the Month proclamation, and the second is a certificate of recognition. So can I have Carol Florence, along with Terry and Delilah up front? Over that way. Carol, do you want to maybe hold this? Welcome. Proclamation is recognizing big brothers, big sisters of San Luis Obispo County during the National Mentoring Month. Whereas Big Brothers, Big Sisters of San Luis Obispo County's mission is to create and support one-to-one mentoring relationships to ignite the power and promise of you. And whereas Big Brothers, Big Sisters of San Luis Obispo County has provided over 30 years of life-changing mentoring programs that promote education, healthy relationships, positive self-esteem, and lifelong growth. Whereas Big Brothers, Big Sisters mentoring programs are evidence-based preventive programs with strategically significant effectiveness at reducing drug use and violence and improving young mental health and academic performance. Whereas 98% of the children of Big Brothers Big Sisters program graduate from high school and 75% continue their post-high school education and therefore the state of California has launched the California Men's Service Challenge, calling on 10,000 men to step up as mentors, coaches, and leaders to address rising disconnection among youth, men, and boys, and to create pathways to support leadership and belonging to. And whereas Big Brothers Big Sisters of San Luis Obispo County and other local organizations are proud partners in this statewide effort, offering opportunities to men and women alike to serve as mentors and make a lasting difference in the lives of youth. And whereas National Mentoring Month is an opportunity to celebrate mentors, recruit new volunteers, and encourage all residents to invest in the future of our community by supporting our mentoring and our programs. And therefore, the City of Paso Robles formally recognizes the month of January as the National Mentoring Month and embraces the vision that all children should achieve their full potential. Now therefore let it be resolved that I, John Hammond, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and speaking on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim month of January 2026 as National Mentoring Month and recognize Big Brothers, Big Sisters of San Luis Obispo County and the quality of youth mentoring programs that they provide for children and families of San Luis Obispo County. Carol, would you like to say a few words?
No?
If they like, if that, whatever's comfortable with you guys. Sure, go ahead. You bet.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Hammond. Thank you, council members, and Happy New Year to all of you. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity on behalf of Big Brothers Big Sisters of San Luis Obispo County to be here this evening. My name is Carol Florence, and I am a 20-year veteran board member of Big Brothers Big Sisters. As you said, our mission is quite simple, to create and support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. I don't think I'm telling you anything new about having a caring adult in a young person's corner and having someone that listens and encourages and believes in them that their world changes. Research shows that our method and mentored youth are more likely to graduate, avoid risky behaviors, and pursue higher education and meaningful careers. And aside from the statistics, which are important, I think the real impact is seen in the confidence level they gain in the goals they set, and importantly, the dreams that they begin to believe are absolutely possible. So I would like to introduce Big Terry and Little Delilah this evening, who are part of our program. And I'll let Delilah go first.
Good evening. My name is Delilah, and I'm 13 years old. I am a little at Big Brothers and Big Sisters of SLO County. Having a mentor means a lot to me and has helped me in many different ways. It has given me someone I can trust, talk to, and look up to. My mentor has helped me physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, my mentor encourages me to stay active, and she would go to my games and cheer for me in the sidelines, trying new things and take care of myself, which has helped me feel healthier and more confident. Mentally, my mentor helped me believe in myself and don't give up when things get hard. When school life feels stressful, my mentor takes me out to the beach or we'll go on hikes. Those things we both enjoy and spend time together. It reminds me that I can do hard things and that I should always try my best and give it all. Emotionally, my mentor has helped me feel supported and not alone. I always have someone to talk to and someone knows how I feel, and that means a lot to me. And I can tell you that having a mentor inspired me to be one too. There was an option at my school to be a mentor for 6th graders. I took no time and signed up. Then I was elected. Now I have my group of 6th graders that I'm helping to build a stronger relationship and help them physically, mentally, and emotionally. Overall, being a little has helped me become more confident and stronger as a person. I am very thankful for this program and for my mentor. Thank you for letting me share my story.
Hi, and my name is Terry, and I am very honored and delighted to be Delilah's big sister. I have to say that we've been together about a year now, and I have to say that being a mentor in the program is one of the greatest things I've ever done. I've really enjoyed getting to know not only Delilah, but also her family, who is here this evening. And the nice thing about the program is it isn't really scripted. We just spend time together doing things that we enjoy. And we just talk about everyday things. We talk about her school, we talk about homework, we talk about her friends, what's going on in her life, and we talk about setting goals and trying new things and what she wants to do with her future. I signed up for Big Brother, Big Sister as a mentor, hoping to make a difference in somebody's life, and it turns out that she's made as much of a difference in my life as I have in hers. So I would say to anybody who's thinking about becoming a mentor and volunteering with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, or any mentoring type program, do it, because it's absolutely very rewarding, one of the best things you'll ever do. So thank you for letting us be here tonight.
So thanks for helping us celebrate National Mentoring Month. This evening, we ask for your continued support. Thank you for your past support. Please spread the word. Encourage your friends, colleagues, and neighbors. Perhaps they would like to volunteer as mentors. And if you've ever wondered how to make a lasting difference beyond, of course, being a council member, this is it. Just a few hours a month can change a child's life and in turn change our community's future. So thank you from the bottom of all our hearts for your time and commitment to making the city of Paso Robles a place where all young people can thrive. Thank you and Happy New Year again.
Next, we have a special presentation. So could I have Commander Ricky Lear and Sean Kane come forward? Ricky, Sean? Come up here. Sean, why don't you hold that for me? So this is a special certificate of recognition presented to Sean Kane, and it reads, "In grateful recognition for your exceptional generosity, dedication, and support of the Paso Robles Police Department Canine Program. You selfishly donated your time, resources, and personal funds to design, construct 2 canine kennels for police service dogs assigned to canine officers Lugo and Ginnery. These kennels were built at the officers' personal residences to safely and professionally house a police canine when off duty, directly enhancing the care, readiness, and well-being of these valuable working partners. Your commitment exemplifies the strongest traditions of community partnership and public service, and your contributions have been made lasting and meaningful on the Paso Robles Police Department, canine handlers, and the police service dogs who service and protect our community daily. The City of Paso Robles and the City Council extends its sincere appreciation and gratitude for your outstanding support and generosity." And Ricky, would you like to say a word?
So I've known Sean for over 20 years. I knew him before law enforcement, and in fact, he was my first boss after getting out of the military. A few years ago, Sean and I talked, and he told me how much he appreciates our police officers, and that if there was anything he could do to help, to give him a call. Well, the last few years, we gained 2 canines, and our officers didn't realize how much it would cost to build kennels to house our dogs properly at their house, and how much money and time it would take. And I knew it was a chance to give Sean a call. And so Sean didn't hesitate. He came out and put his hard work, time, effort, and money into building 2 beautiful kennels at our officers' houses. And in the end, Sean didn't ask for a thing and told me he didn't even want to be recognized, and I had to get him out here tonight. So I just want to take this moment to say thank you, not just for what you built, but for what it represents. You gave your time, your skill, and your resources without wanting compensation or recognition. And you did it because you care about our officers, our canines, and our law enforcement community. What you provided is going to make a real difference every single day for our handlers and their partners. On behalf of the Paso Robles Police Department, our canine team, and the families involved, thank you for backing us, believing us in what we do, and supporting the mission in a way we will not forget.
That's amazing work, Sean. Thank you. I know that our canine handlers, when we get a dog, they stay with them 24/7. They don't get put away when they go home from work. They stay with them 24/7. And I know we lost a canine a year or so ago, and now we have 2 more, and really appreciate the effort from the public helping them with these kids. Thank you. Next, we have presentation by Ditas Esperanza, Capital Projects Manager. Ditas?
Yes, Mayor, good evening. Before I start my presentation, there was a addendum to your agenda for the meeting tonight, and according to Melissa, this is under public comment, and the person would like me to answer the question in front of the council and in front of the public here. So I'll just read the email. It says, for Ditas Esperanza to comment on why did the overhead utilities not go underground while the roadway was torn up. They are ugly. The subject is Creston Road Phase 1 improvements. So here's the response. So PG&E usually does all the undergrounding of overhead utilities. They use a cost of about $2 million for each mile that a pipeline has to be undergrounded. The Creston Road project is about 2 miles, so that equates to about $4 million. I would like to remind the public that the bid that we received for Creston Road Phase 1 was about $8.5 million, so half of that would have gone just for the undergrounding of utilities. Not only is it costly, but it's also very challenging to do these underground utilities. You probably have about almost a year of coordination, because every property owner has to give us a permission to enter their property, to disconnect their service and reconnect it. So all the legal documents that must be written by our attorneys, they review it back and forth, they sign it. That's probably about a year to get that done. And then once you get it done, then there's about probably another year to actually do the work. Personally, I did the underground utilities on Riverside from 13th to 17th, and we did use our Rule 20A money, which PG&E sets aside for cities to use. When we did that project, we didn't have enough funds, and so we had to borrow money from Atascadero. So undergrounding of utilities is not an easy thing. We can do it, but we have to be ready and decide this is really what we want to do, and provide the timing that's needed to get that done, and then of course the funds. I hope that answers his question. All right, so we move on to the monthly project status report. I never know how to, is it this one? The big one. All right, Warren will do it, okay. Next, please. Okay, so here's the list of the project that's currently under construction, and then I'll have a few pictures to go with them, so we'll just go directly to the pictures. Here's the pickleball court status project. You can see the south court has fences all around it, and the areas in between the courts, the benches are now in place, and those poles above the benches are the poles that will be holding the shade structure. So those are in place. Next, we have the pervious concrete parking lot. has been installed, and then we're just waiting for the pole lights, and then landscaping. Landscaping and irrigation, this was taken a few weeks ago. They're actually doing, if you go out there now, there's actually plants there. They've started the landscape and irrigation. We're just about to the end, and so we're just doing some miscellaneous. In the next few weeks, you'll start seeing the picnic tables, the barbecue grill, all the site furnishings. So we're gearing up towards a completion date of May, as we promised everybody. The downtown parking lot rehab is also ongoing. The picture on the left is the alleyway off Spring Street just south of the Grapes and Grain. So we did the concrete gutter that will handle drainage. That's the left and the right. And then the one below is in progress. And then the next picture should be the alley east of the Grapes and Grain that connects into 13th Street. That's fully paved and fully done, and people are already using that. Next is the 12th Street Rail and Railroad project. You'll see that it's been striped. The wheel stops have been completed. The ADA signs are installed, and then the PG&E is on site installing all the street light poles, and then in a few weeks they will be activated and be lit. And then I think later this week you'll start seeing street furnishing as well, the benches and trash cans all along Railroad. And then that should be completed probably we'll have people ready it'll be ready for use sometime March probably. And then I forgot to say, the one at Marv's Pizza is probably April, May, when that can be done. So now we have our upcoming projects. Here's the list of it, and we'll just go by the picture. So here's the fiberized slurry seal project. This, just to remind you, this is the maintenance treatment that we've tried in the past, and it's really functioning well at the one we just did at Oak Street, south of 10th, and so we thought, well, let's give it a shot at these streets. These streets are not quite as bad, but not good enough to just put slurry seal, so we need fiberized slurry. We awarded that project some time back, and come Monday's a holiday, come next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they will begin the concrete phase, putting in cross gutters and curb ramps. They'll start at Maple and Pacific. They'll move to 8th and Olive, 9th and Olive, and then 13th Street north of 13th between Spring to Vine. So those concrete improvements are coming along, and we did issue a press release for that upcoming construction.
Real quick question, this fiberized slurry is what we used on the west end of Tower, wasn't it? That same material? And then when we go in, before we put the slurry, are we filling in all the lows and highs? And making
Yeah, so there's going to be so the concrete we're doing next week, then we do dig out repairs, a leveling course, and then the fiberized slurry.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, next is the Creston Road Phase 2. I think we know that's coming along. We're gearing up for a advertisement March, April, so that will be in construction immediately after school is out for the summer. So these are the downtown street repairs that was adopted when we passed I-24. The red line are all the streets that we are planning on doing repairs. We just completed preliminary design on those streets, and we're initiating final PSNE, and we should finish PSNE later this year, and we should be ready to do construction summer 2027. And this is, so at the same time, we're also doing the Sherwood Road neighborhood repairs. We completed all the mains, water mains upgrade, so we just finished preliminary engineering. We started final PSNE, and we should finish also the end of this year and be in construction next year. So come summer, we will be very busy with both the Sherwood and the downtown repairs going at the same time, and probably Creston Road Phase 2 as well. But we're ready for that challenge, and we'll move on. Sierra Bonita neighborhood, if you recall, we were ready to award this project, and then we got a phone call from the gas company that said, hold off, we need to do repairs of all our gas mains. So if you go out there, they did puncture and put a lot of patches on the roads. They are finally done, and so we put the project back out to bid. It is on your agenda for award tonight. And once you award that project, we could begin that road work come summer. I think that concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Go ahead.
That was very helpful. Ditas, could you clarify how Commerce Road fits into what you were showing and how we're sort of moving towards commerce? And what?
Sure. So Commerce Road has a sewer line that needs to be installed, and the sewer line is coming up Scott Street, and I think they're at Camino Lobo and Scott Street, and then in a few weeks they will be on Commerce, and then once they're done in Commerce, then we'll be on the heels of doing the road repair. I'm being told that the sewer project should be done by May-ish, and so then come June, we will be initiating the construction repairs for Commerce.
Thank you.
Questions over here? Okay.
Yeah, this doesn't work.
Thank you, Ditas.
Thank you.
Next, we come to general public comments. This is the time that the public may address council on items within its purview but not scheduled on tonight's agenda. Council or staff may briefly respond to statements or questions posed by the public. Please fill out a speaker information card and give it to our city clerk. Upon speaking, you'll have 3 minutes. Those people wishing to speak on any item scheduled on tonight's agenda will be given that opportunity at the time the agenda item is being heard. So we'll start off. Welcome.
Good evening, Good evening, council members, Mayor Hammond, city staff, and fellow residents of Paso Robles. I am Paso Robles Youth Commissioner Aurora Span, and I'm here tonight to give you a quick update on our activities. If you're not familiar with the Youth Commission, it is a 9-member youth-led board appointed by city council members that represent our teens in our communities and advocate for services and opportunities for Paso Robles younger residents. On November 7th, we hosted our most successful free teen event so far with 100 teens in attendance. Our second annual Pumpkin Palooza After Dark Teen Night was a free event in the evening featuring action-packed laser tag, glow-in-the-dark games, chill space for the teens to relax with free snacks, good music, and tons of activities. We are planning to hold another free teen event this spring, which we will keep you posted on. The Youth Commission continues to monitor the operation of the Teen Center and open gym services here at Centennial Park. These are non-custodial programs open Monday through Thursday, serving roughly 85 students daily. Centennial Park is a great space for teens to chill, play, and socialize, eat, and study after school. We also are volunteering in support of our city-sponsored events. In December, we participated at the Santa Sleigh Stop at Centennial Park, and members will also be supporting the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Celebration and service at the City Park this upcoming Monday. I want to encourage everybody in our community to please join us for this event. The program starts at 9 a.m., and you can find more information at the city's webpage, prcity.com/MLK. We have a subcommittee working on our recruitment video for the next group of applicants for the Youth Commission. We are filming and taking photos this evening for the video. Applicants will be available at the end of March. Youth Commission would like to thank city staff and Rec Foundation for their support and partnership. Our thanks goes out to the City Council as well, especially our liaisons, Councilmember Bosch, and Councilmember Strong. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And also thank you to Thank you to your colleagues for coming tonight. Appreciate
Spirit
that.
hands. Hi, Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. I think a few months ago I announced that Eric McCormick was going to run for District 1, but unfortunately he passed away this morning. He is a long-term Paso Robles resident. He lived on, I think, 24th and Vine. He is very well known for his musical talent. He's been a pioneer, if you ask me, with his band Soundhouse. I was fortunate, my neighbor plays for him right now, so I was fortunate to go see them when they were at Cal Coast. Nobody knows what happened. It's just very devastating. Anytime we lose a resident like Norma, like Eric, that really put their hearts into this city. So I just wanted to say that if whatever we can do to support that situation, I don't know what, but anyways. So the other reason why I'm here is I wanted to ask, I'm like a week behind or an agenda behind. I wanted to ask Chief Stornetta or whoever hears from the fire department in his presentation, one of the goals was to have an individual fire dispatcher. And so one of my questions is, what's the difference between a regular fire dispatcher, a regular 911 dispatcher and a fire dispatcher? The other stuff is for later, but that's basically what I wanted to say. I did have a whole 3 minutes for Chief Nord. I gave him the information prior, but I'm going to save that for when the public safety survey actually comes out. I want to say to everybody and in the council is that I'm confident for the first time that this city has its best city manager in decades and its police chief. And when I came here in 2019, I met Ty Lewis as a police chief, and then I met Ty Lewis as a city manager. And I think, I believe, I watch it. I watch how he just picked up the pieces and moved forward. So I look forward to laying down some torches around here. I'm not concerned about the police department as I was 5 years ago, or where the city's going. I think that Paso deserves that. And I really see that Chris is building enough support around you guys that pretty soon your job's going to be irrelevant. You're just going to sit there and rubber stamp some stuff. I see some really classy things coming out. And the last thing is I was very happy that at this last horrendous rain there were no rescues. I saw Fire Marshal Patty with my ever-ending parking war, and I congratulated him. That has been my only goal for the staff not get hurt themselves trying to save our people. Thank you.
Just information too, we are having a Main Street Mixer a week from tomorrow night. Maybe you haven't heard, for Norma. It's Toast to Norma. It's going to be at the Park Cinemas, 5:30, and it's a week from tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but on the 22nd of January. So.
That one's sad too. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
My name is Megan McGeary, and I wanted to talk about something that's kind of dense, but I'll be as brief as I can. Chris Beal, you had responded to my email about the telecom industry, and you said that there's no on the books cell tower expansion that is set for 2025. But this is apparently a 10-year plan for the telecom industry to usurp local ordinances and authorities, pushing out more cell towers and antenna than ever before. So there's extreme health concerns about this, which they are just hopping over. So even though it's not in our sites right now, it's something that I hope that our community can be well aware of. The biggest concern is just the bypassing of local authority and governance to determine how and where more towers and antenna will be placed, whether next door to our neighbors or in school parking lots. The goal of the FCC in partnership with the federal government is to place antenna and cell towers every 750 feet in every state in the country. I'm simply wanting to bring awareness to what's happening, even though you did share this, that it's not a concern right now. Although the only reference that I saw to this was in Atascadero, Apparently this year, Verizon is planning additional expansions to the current traffic way area where the cell tower is already disguised as a pine tree. So they do have ways of camouflaging. But to most of us, it may seem as business as usual in the race towards building AI infrastructure, which the current administration says is needed in the technological race and for national security. But this is a planned proliferation of data mining and surveillance, data tracking that will eliminate all state authority and local governance. So this is found on the FCC docket number 25-276 and is called Build America, eliminating barriers to wireless deployment, which will steamroll over all public say in any health implications as well as where they'll be placed. Through this action by the FCC, the federal government and Silicon Valley, the private entities, will become a unified front. So this isn't a strictly matter of national security and winning the AI race, but is George Orwell-style 1984. Through the third-party doctrine, a legal loophole has been found. The government can leverage our data without a warrant since private companies will do the data mining for them. So I'll have to conclude there, but it is pretty significant, so thank you.
Yeah, I think, Warren, those kind of facilities always have to come through the planning commission, so you keep an alert to any kind of an item like that. I'm sure you would have another opportunity to speak at the time that your hearing happens at planning commission.
We could probably bring back a report. There are a lot of federal preemptions coming our way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay. Welcome.
Hello, and Happy New Year. My name is Lisa Angelotti, and I am an active member of the Paso Robles Democratic Club and a proud Paso citizen living in the downtown area. And over the last year, I have been attending many of the rallies that take place on Spring and 12th, and I just want to praise Chief Nord and the police department. When we first started these rallies a little over a year ago, several times we had predominantly young people coming up, letting their gas out on us, their fumes, several other people who would stop and sort of accost some of us verbally. However, the police department has been not only responsive, but proactive. We see them out there. They are patrolling, and just, it's so nice to live somewhere at a time when there's so much chaos going on across the country, to feel that our police department is there to de-escalate and to support the residents here in Paso Robles. And I know many of our members of the Democratic Club appreciate it. I appreciate it, and I think it's important that you all know that this is going on. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, Roblins, we don't allow clapping. We have to do this. I've got to hold a standard, so if you love it, use your hands. Like, we can see that just as well, not disrupt. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, council and city staff. I'm Amy Salas from Paso Robles. My first comment is I'd like to thank Council Member Beal for observing the actions and being witness to the ICE activities a couple weeks back. And I'd like to thank Chief Nord also for his officers and him holding the thin blue line during those actions. He did exactly what he told me he was going to do. He's going to hold the line. I want to let the public know about the Truth Forum, which is required under Senate Bill 54. It's going to be at the Board of Supervisors on January 27th at 1:30 p.m. And they will be going over the ICE in our community and how our community responds through the Sheriff's Department. Lastly, since I have some time, I'd like to take a moment of silence for Renee Good, who was murdered last week by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. I hope this never happens in Paso Robles. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and fellow citizens. I stand before you today as a concerned resident of our community, deeply troubled by the devastating impact of unchecked illegal immigration on our nation and our city, an issue I've been deeply involved in for 35 years. The scourge of crimes committed by illegal aliens, rapes, murders, human trafficking, and drug trafficking has torn our families apart, destroyed lives, and eroded the fabric of our society. According to recent reports from the Department of Homeland Security and various law enforcement agencies, illegal immigrants are disproportionately involved in these heinous acts. My nephew was killed by fentanyl. For instance, in fiscal year 2025 alone, ICE arrested over 10,000 individuals with criminal convictions for sexual assault, homicide, and narcotics offenses. Human trafficking networks, often operated by cartels exploiting our porous borders, have victimized thousands, turning our streets into quarters of exploitation and fear. Fentanyl and other drugs smuggled across the border have fueled an epidemic that's claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, of American lives, including my nephew. This is not just a national crisis, it's infiltrating our local communities, endangering our children, our families, and our way of life. But what pains me even more is the portrayal from within our own city council. We have a sitting council member, Chris Beal, who has openly provided aid and comfort to protesters supporting these illegal alien criminals. By amplifying her message on social media and using certain resources that she used to promote her messages on social media, and during her council campaign, she is now defending sanctuary policies that shield fugitives. This council member has turned a blind eye to the victims that embolden those who break our laws. This is not leadership, it's a disgrace. It's an affront to every law-abiding citizen every victim of these crimes and every first responder who risked their life to protect us. How can we trust an elected official when they prioritize political posturing over public safety? I urge this council to take immediate action, censure this member for her reckless behavior, send a clear message that our city will not tolerate complicity in policies that harbor criminals. Censoring is not just symbolic, it's a step towards accountability, restoring faith in our government and prioritizing the safety of our residents over partisan agendas.
Summarize, Michael, if you can.
Let us reclaim our city and our country from this chaos. Councilmember Beal, I was prepared to give you the benefit of the doubt when you were elected. However, your recent actions have disqualified you from serving. Your violation of the public trust and your ideological bent show you cannot be objective. Adhere to your oath.
Thank you, Michael.
The honorable thing for you to do is to step down. Your actions have put people at risk and cannot be tolerated. The first priority of this city government is public safety.
Michael, we're going to have to call it.
Mrs. Bill.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Michael White, 1946 Olive Street. Mayor, council, audience. Councilwoman Chris Beal has been accused of treason by some in this very room. I I also know that people have strong feelings about these accusations, and it is upsetting for some. I understand that. But accusing somebody of treason without legal evidence can be as harmful as the act itself. It is also harmful to the integrity of the entire community. We should all avoid making that mistake. Chris is new to the position and working hard representing her district, which, by the way, was previously underrepresented. This may not make some people comfortable, but it's not deserving of inflammatory comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Stephen Dritz. I live at 2025 Olive Street. I'm a relatively new resident of Paso Robles, having moved here in 2019. As a resident of District 1, I really appreciate what a wonderful job Chris Beal has done representing our entire community. She is honest, she is kind, and kindness is something that we don't have enough of these days. And also, I think that she represents all that is good in this country. This is the 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation, and our nation was built on principles, very important principles, that every person has a right to pursuit of happiness, and that we all have rights under the law, due process. These are the things that we fought for, and I'm really happy to see that Chris, 250 years later, is fighting for these same things. It takes a lot of courage, more courage than most of us have. Therefore, all I can say is that I really commend Chris Beal, and I stand with her as a resident of Paso Robles. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Anyone else? Francisco? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, public. Francisco Ramirez. And I'd like to, since we got time here, ditto the last two comments of the last two gentlemen that came up here and say that this country's built on immigration. People that immigrated from Europe here, searching a better life, to be able to speak freely, to be able to provide for their families. And that's what this country is. It's a country of immigrants, because not everybody that's here right now was initially here. And I want to remember that to everyone, that everyone's pursuing a better life, looking for that American dream. Come in here, work hard, build a business, open a business, provide for this community. And a lot of people do that. Yeah, and then now, all of a sudden, we forget what this next holiday is coming up for. Martin Luther King. All of a sudden, what happened in the 60s, the 70s, civil rights, all that is washed away. It's like it never happened. And we're going back in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? We'll close that, bring it over to, is there anyone online, Melissa?
No, sir.
Very well. We'll close public comments.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a couple of comments?
Certainly.
Great, thank you. I appreciate everyone's comment today. I know that there have been a lot of things floating around, so I wanted to make sure people heard directly from me about what's been happening. So to be clear, I do not support or encourage interfering with law enforcement. The online piece that spurred the outrage misrepresented my position in its headline, and it buried my actual words at the end of the article. And here's what I wrote. I am so proud of all the volunteers and caring neighbors. If you hear the horns, whistles, bullhorns, go to them and bear witness. To bear witness means to observe firsthand, to provide testimony, to be a truth teller from firsthand experience. I learned that morning that there was possible federal immigration enforcement in town. As an elected, I have a responsibility to know what's happening firsthand. Just as I visit different areas to observe unsafe intersections, parking conflicts, stormwater concerns, and many other things, I went to a potential enforcement area to possibly observe. I want everyone to know how proud I am of the officers and the shift supervisors, how they managed that morning. And I want to commend the police department and chief for the planning and training that contributed to the favorable outcome. The local police response was proportional, it was professional, it was respectful. Officers did not cooperate nor impede with the federal agents or the protesters. The situation came and went without escalation and without incident. And I am not alone in my assessment. Others who were observing from a distance were also impressed by the Paso PD response. So thank you. This is the value of bearing witness. First-hand truth tellers, especially now, are key for developing public trust. I want everyone to also understand that this misleading piece, unsurprisingly, provoked an ugly and dangerous response. I've been called the most vile names a woman can be called. I've been accused of treason by local business owners, and others continued to stir the pot, even though they knew that I did not say what I was accused of saying. This is dangerous, and it should not be tolerated in our civic discourse. I also received respectful and concerned communications, which I gladly responded to, in addition to many supportive comments. This whole incident is a reminder that as a community, we have different worldviews and opinions. But despite these differences, we are still neighbors, and we should not be painted as enemies. And we all have the responsibility to tell the truth. As a leader, I am intentional about how I spend my time and energy, and the most important work happens in person, offline. Let's build on our successes and common ground to continue to create the kind of community we want for our families and the next generation. I'm proud of our city and honored to serve. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chris. I think we can all agree that we definitely want legal immigration, and that's what the city should stand behind, so appreciate that. Moving on, we have the next item, agendas to be deferred. Mr. Huat, do we have any of those?
Mayor, no items for deferral this evening.
Very good. Then we'll move on to overview of the items on consent calendar. We have 1 through 9, if you would go over those, Chris.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. 9 items, as you mentioned, on the consent calendar. The first item is the approval of the December 16th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Item number 2 is the receipt of advisory body minutes for the Youth Commission on November 5th, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee on November 10th, and the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee on the 10th of January, I believe, or is that supposed to be November? I'm not sure. Either way, we'll move on to item number 3, receipt of the warrant register. And since we haven't met in about a month, there are several items on here that exceed $100,000, so please bear with me as I read through these. But the city's issued a little over $5 million in payments since our last meeting. So the items that exceed $100,000 include a payment to Custom Truck One Source LP for a 2025 Freightliner dump truck in the amount of $145,548.83. Next is a payment to Best and Krieger for the September attorney's fees in the amount of $258,125.60. Next is a payment to the San Luis Obispo County Public Works Department. This is for the city's share of the Nacimiento Water Operating Fund. This is our annual billing in the amount of $555,061.20. That comes from the water fund. Next item is a payment to PG&E, and this is for water-related utility costs for October of last year in the amount of $101,742.31. Next is a payment to Souza Construction. This is for the work on the downtown parking lot repairs in the amount of $240,755.80. Next is a payment to West Rock General Engineering. This is for road repairs in the Crestline Fairview neighborhood in the amount of $216,591.69. Next is a payment to Rob Reynolds Construction. This is for the City Hall remodel work in the amount of $180,336.89. Next is a payment to Best and Krieger for October 25 attorney's fees in the amount of $203,216.53. Next is a payment to J.J. Fisher Construction, for the construction contract related to the pickleball courts in the amount of $356,302.72. Next is a payment to JW Design and Construction. This is a performance bond refund, and this is for the Ava Hotel project, which was recently completed, in the amount of $393,250. Next is a payment to Visit SlowCal. This is for the October 2025 pass-through of an assessment that's collected on hotel stays. This amount is $131,713.80. Next is a payment to Travel Paso for the October 2025 pass-through for the tourism assessment in the amount of $174,915.40. Next is a payment to Mainline Engineering Construction. This is for the Riverside, Capitol Hill, Almond utility upgrades project in the amount of $134,520. Next is a payment to Best and Krieger for November 25 attorney's fees in the amount of $158,448.14. Next is a payment to Newton Construction. This is related to the training tower work that's happening out at Fire Station 3. And finally, a payment to U.S. Bank, and this is related to tax allocation bond payments. This is for the former redevelopment agency in the amount of $183,168.76. Thanks again for bearing with me on that. Moving on, item number 4, this is a request, and I'll spend a minute on this one. This is a request from the County of San Luis Obispo for the city to join a coalition to petition the California State Legislature. And this is related to the continued operations of the Diablo Canyon Power Plant. So as most of you recall, back in 2016, there were plans made at the time where PG&E would not seek renewal of the operating licenses, essentially allowing the plant to shutter in 2025. At the time, there was a lot of dialogue and discussion with various local entities and agencies about the closure because it had far-reaching impacts, including on property taxes, and of course our larger economy. Then you fast forward to 2022, and the California legislature adopted Senate Bill 846, which essentially directed state agencies to support the continued operations of the plant through 2030. Of course, then that kicked off a relicensing process, which happens essentially both at the state and the federal level. The federal level process has moved forward, and PG&E has been granted a 20-year license at the federal level. However, the 2030 horizon at the state level still hangs out there. And since the plant was initially slated to close down, there was also changes in how property taxes are allocated. or collected from the plant itself. And so since 10 years ago or so, the city has seen a significant reduction in the portion of property taxes that are, or unitary taxes that are collected from the plant, and to the tune of between 50 and 60%. So with all that being said, the coalition would focus on three key areas. One, seeking operations for an additional 20 years at the state level to align with what's been approved at the federal level. The restoration of the unitary tax or some other alternate financial measure to local jurisdictions, which would be a benefit directly to the city of Paso Robles amongst several other local jurisdictions. And then also supporting the land conservation and public access plans that have been in the works near the plant as well. Most of the other incorporated cities are joining this coalition. I have not heard of one that isn't. I know that, or isn't considering it. I know this week both Grover Beach and Arroyo Grande voted unanimously over the last 2 days to join the coalition. So that is what's being asked of the council this evening. Moving on, item number 5 is the approval of memorandums of understanding with our professional firefighters, Local 4148 and SCIU, Local 620 for 3-year labor agreements. I want to take a moment to recognize and thank both groups for their continued work with our team on bringing these agreements to this point this evening. Item number 6 is the approval of a resolution that awards a construction contract for road repairs in the Sierra Bonita neighborhood and slurry seal treatment of Scott Street from Creston to Airport Road. And again, this is coming from Measure I-24. Item 7 is an approval of a resolution that authorizes a change order to Rick Engineering to prepare 65% plans, specifications, and estimates, and other support work for the North River Road Bike Path project. This would extend the existing river path from Union Road up to River Oaks along the river. This work's paid for by a grant through SLOCOG. Item number 8 is the approval, second reading, and this would adopt some traffic study work and speed limits that you all discussed and approved first reading at your last meeting. And then finally, item 9 tonight is the approval of a final map for track 3105-4, and this is for River Oaks Phase 4. There are several companion action items under this item that we're requesting council take action on, but that is the main item for that one. And with that, staff is happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Consent calendar are considered routine and do not require separate discussion. However, any member of the council or public has specific questions or clarification on these items, we can address those now before the vote is taken. If a full discussion is desired by a member of the council or the public, the item will be removed from the consent calendar and moved to the end of the discussion items agenda. I will now ask the council if they have any particular questions, and then I'll also ask the public. So start off on my right. Any questions on consent? On my left? I do have one, and it has to do with consent 3, item 3, and it has to do with the amount of money that I saw moving over to BBK in the last 3 months. Quite a lot. I don't think I've ever seen that much money being expended. And I'd just like to ask Elizabeth, since she's here, maybe she can review some of these items that made our almost $620,000 in 3 months.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that's 3 months worth of bills. It is a little bit high. You had sorry. 3 months worth of bills. Some of that was developer initiated and so is reimbursed by the developers to the city. Some of it was the result of some litigation that you have going on that was in hearing. So there was some unusual litigation expenses. I would have to go back and look at the specific bills, but that's the general is you had some really high litigation expenses that month. Where you are defendants in some litigation, and then the developer reimbursed.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they're all coming due now, I guess, at this point toward the end of the year, and most of it, I imagine, it was things that you were doing for us in the previous 6, 8, 10 months probably, and now you're billing for them. In particular, the Tribune lawsuit, those kind of things is probably what.
I'm not sure that there was anything left from the Tribune loss. Yeah, I believe the Tribune lawsuit had already been paid out a few months ago. So this is the Bourse litigation and some of the other matters that you have pending.
Very good. Okay. So I'll go ahead and then open up the public. Any of the public has any questions on any of these consent? Dale?
Thank you, Dale Guston. That last item you questioned, Mayor, was one of my concerns. There's another item for attorney's fees also in there. I'd like an explanation of that other item for attorney's fees, please.
Did I get that, Dale? Which attorney's fees?
There were 2 items for attorney's fees.
There's 3, actually.
Well, 3.
Yeah, so
Did she answer all 3?
BB&K is listed 3 times because it was September, October, and November bills. So we separate them out by month. And then the same answer applies to all 3 of them.
Hi, Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. I have the same question on number 3. You know, I just can't believe how much BBK charges and costs. You're getting more than Ty Lewis's payout every month. $134,000, I think, once a month is your fee. That's what I see going through the warrant register. You know that I'm hot to replace you, BBK. So I would like to see a total breakdown if that is available to me. I will make a formal PRA request. Anyways, the reason why I wanted to, that's number 3, that's my concern. And then number 5 is the union contracts, right? I have a question on that. I guess I ask it now. I don't understand this non-pension compensation blurb in the SEIU contract. It seems like CalPERS is trying to skirt away from giving your top step salaried employees something about they get 1% or 2% for a year, but it's not pensionable. And I think that if I understand that one blurb correctly, that is what long-termers work for. Because CalPERS calculates our retirement benefits by our highest earned. So if I understand that paragraph, which is really poorly written, I read everybody's union contract. I made a joke because ours is, SEI Local 1000s is so large that you have to put on a USB port. Your guys is like a napkin. It was really an easy read. But I would like to make sure that the staff is not getting a raw end of that deal, because what matters to staff, government workers, is our pensions. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because we work hard, and I say we because I worked for the state for 30 years, we work hard for that pension. So that's my concern on that contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online?
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and bring it back then to council for direction and or action. Pro Tem Gregory?
Yeah, Mayor Hammond, I'd like to do this a little bit out of order intentionally. Can we individually vote on item 4 to support Diablo Canyon coming back to show our strength of support? Would that be okay, instead of just being on the consent agenda?
Well, would you like to have a quick report on that for the public?
No, I'm comfortable just to
Okay,
pick it
all
up.
right. Sure.
So I move we approve item 4 in the consent agenda to support Diablo Canyon extending their time there.
Okay, motion by Gregory, second by Strong. Discussion? Call for the question.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Beal?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Pro Tem Gregory?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and approve the rest of the consent agenda, items 1 through 3 and 5 through 9.
Second. Okay, motion by Gregory, second by Strong to approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Discussion? Okay, we'll call for the question. Melissa?
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Beal?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. The first up tonight is approval of Sensorio Public Art Installation Downtown City Park. And Wyatt, you have that for us?
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Wyatt Lund. I'm the Recreation Volunteer Coordinator for the Community Services Department here in the city of Paso Robles. Nice to see everybody. It's my pleasure to present our recommendation for the approval of a sensorial public art installation at Downtown City Park tonight. There's a potential rendering that Sensorio has provided for us. In early 2025, the city and Sensorio began exploring opportunities for a public art installation in Downtown City Park, with the city's consistent with the city's 5-year economic development strategic plan. In March of 2025, the city met with Sensorio to discuss a potential collaborative project and also submitted a letter of intent to the Arts in California Parks grant program seeking $70,000 for the Paso Robles Downtown Public Art Placemaking Initiative. In May of last year, the city was informed that the project was not selected for the funding, unfortunately. Despite this, Sensorio remained committed to realizing a public art project in our park. In July of 25, Ryan Hoppel from Sensorio and Stacy Jacob of Solterra Strategies, who are both with us tonight, approached the city to propose the generous installation of 3 lighted sculptures to be placed on the north side of City Park in what's affectionately referred to as the banjo planter, at the end of which displays the American flag. This planter decorates a main entrance to City Park off the intersection of Park and 12th Streets. Sensorio's proposal was endorsed by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee at their regular meeting last month, and approval by the City Council tonight would authorize city staff to execute a formal agreement with Sensorio. There we go. The sculptures, constructed of steel, will feature static warm white or single-colored lighting powered electrically. The electricity cost is estimated at 180 watts for 12 hours of usage, equating to 2.16 kilowatts per night, which is an estimated cost of $1 per night to be incurred by the city. The 3 sculptures will each be anchored in place by a concrete footing submerged in the soil of the planter bed. Community Services Department staff will work with the Community Development Department and the Public Works Department to ensure all required permits are obtained and installation is completed safely, meeting all current building code requirements. Fabrication of the sculptures requires a 2 to 3 month production period, and installation in City Park is estimated to be 2 to 3 weeks. The sculptures would be in place for 3 years with a potential extension to the agreement after review by the city at that point. Sensorio has generously offered to fully fund the sculpture commissioning, fabrication, installation, and all ongoing maintenance of the art installation. The art installation would directly support the City of Paso Robles' economic development strategic plan by advancing its goals for public art, placemaking, and vibrant community spaces, and aligns with the strategic plan's vision of fostering a thriving, connected, and economically resilient community. I'd be happy to take any questions, and I'd also like to invite Ryan Hoppel, General Manager of Sensorio, to tell you about Sensorio's vision and the artists.
Okay. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Wyatt. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, thank you for your time today. As Wyatt had mentioned, Sensorio would like to give a gift of light to the downtown community, and we think this can bring light, art, and community together to the downtown park. We see it aligns with placemaking. It supports public art. And I think it just enables and helps promote partnership within the community. So around the art, there'll be 2 plaques where, as people walk through, can scan and learn more about Sensorio and have a virtual reality type of experience that they might see parts of Sensorio on their phone as well too. So visitors will be able to have an interactive engagement, as I said, by scanning that QR code on their phone. And it kind of gives them a sneak peek at Sensorio, but also being able to enjoy the art in the park downtown as well. We think that it will help enhance the cultural landscape of downtown. It certainly helps provide a iconic photo opportunity in the park. It helps serve as a teaser for connecting visitors to Sensario, and certainly it strengthens the partnership between Sensario and the city as well too. We hope that we want to shine brighter together throughout these next couple of years. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, we'll start off with questions, and Ryan, if you don't mind, is this piece done by Mr. Morrow, or is it a different company?
Different artist. So, these are the artists Hebe Kozo out of LA, who did our Dimensions exhibit that we opened up in April a couple years ago.
And will it have different colors like we see out there in Sensorio, or how is that going to look?
It will be either a white tone color or some other general color, but we're trying to stay away from having different colors like we have at Sensario.
But, so there's only going to be one color, basically?
Yes.
It's not going to change. Basically, what we see here is what we're going to have. And during different parts of the year, it won't change as far as the color then?
We could think about different colors throughout the year.
I think that'd be important.
We'd be open to that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Council, questions?
I got to ask a lot of questions at the, I was able to ask a lot of questions at the Parks and Rec Committee meeting. I liked it then. I really like it again tonight. I just want to thank the Parks and Rec Committee for forwarding it to council. I think they did a great job.
Okay. Chris?
I agree. We got to ask you a lot of questions at the advisory body. I love how it's a different type of art. It integrates the lighting that has been so special and important for our park. It's a beautiful complement to what we have going on in terms of our park as a destination and a place. And it's a very generous offer from you to help install this in the city, so thank you.
Along with just the light, you have the shadows too on the ground. That really is impressive. So, okay, I'll go ahead and open up the public. Anybody wishing to, staff and Ryan, why don't you hang close for answering questions? Michael, go ahead.
Michael Rivera, I very much appreciate Sensario. My daughter and I were two of the people in the first morning to install the first phase of this as volunteers. And we have been so pleased to see the incredible success of the Sensario project. The people I take out there are thrilled, and you know, this is very, this is very generous. I mean, to be able to promote this to the downtown business corridor is going to be something, and hopefully it'll help with their continued growth and success, which has been pretty amazing. And I just look forward to the further steps as they go through the process of building out and developing this wonderful asset to the city of Paso Robles. And I hope that the people of this city understand what a great commitment and what a great investment this has been and how much it has brought to this city. And I hope we continue to work with them to make them as successful as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale, welcome.
Dale Augustin, as a member of the Main Street Board of Directors, I have to say thank you as well. And I know if Norma was alive, she would have better accolades than I can say. We will have a celebration of her life in addition to the mixer on February 28th at the Fair Event Center.
Anyone else? Do we have anyone online, Melissa?
No, sir.
Okay. Ryan and Wyatt, I think we're good at this point. Any other questions for the staff?
Just one comment.
Okay, Gregory.
Wyatt, it's nice to see you in a tie and presenting. Very professional.
Thanks. I'm still wearing Vans, though, so I feel like myself.
And I'd like to say thank you to Sensario for this wonderful gift and continued partnership with our community.
Thank you for the offer, Ryan. We'll go ahead and consider the item now, bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move that we approve the Sensorio Public Art installation in the downtown city park.
Second.
Motion by Beal, second by Bausch. Discussion. Okay, we'll call for the question, Melissa.
Councilmember Beal?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Discussion item 2, mayoral and city council term limits, legal overview and policy options. Mr. Huat.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have any exciting things like lights on this presentation, but we have a few, so I'll just jump right in, and there we go. Glad it works. So back in your November 4th meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Gregory requested a discussion return to this council regarding term limits, and the council agreed that it should return for future consideration, and it's here this evening for that discussion. What is a term limit? Most of us know what that is, but for the public, a term limit restricts the number of terms an elected official may serve. It can apply to both the mayor and the city council positions. And then once that term limit is reached, typically cities that do have term limits have one of two things happen. Either there's a lifetime limit, or there's a required cooling down period for a period of years before you could return to an elected position. In terms of what happens here in Paso Robles, as you know, both the mayor and the city council member seats are elected to a 4-year term. The mayor is at large, meaning the mayor position is elected from the electorate of the entire city, whereas several years ago, the city council went to the by-district form of elections, and you serve staggered terms, so not all of you are up for election on the same year. I think probably the most important part of this discussion is that there are no term limits currently for the city of Paso Robles. So we included a white paper attached to your staff report from the National League of Cities, and it generally provided some outlines of what you hear about the pros and cons of term limits. Typically you hear that on the benefits side, that it encourages new leadership, it prevents entrenchment, concerns, of course, is the loss of experience and that reduced institutional knowledge. Some other feedback that you typically hear too is that elections serve as de facto term limits. The legal authority for the city to establish term limits is given to you through the California Government Code. It does authorize general law cities to adopt term limits. It can apply to both the mayor and council members, or just the mayor, or just council members, as we'll get into in just a minute. And then there's really two key state law requirements. One is that term limits must be prospective only, meaning that your time served up until a point that the term limits are established does not count towards those term limits. And then the second is that the term limits the establishment of term limits would require voter approval. So again, as the prospective component of this is that the term limits cannot apply retroactively, so only towards terms that are elected at the same election the measure passes, or future elections. So for example, if this was on the November 26th election and you start your term in November of 2026, it would only apply to those terms from 2026 and later. Would not apply if you were elected in any prior election cycle. So there is the voter approval requirement. It's a majority vote of the electorate, so 50+1, and must be placed on a statewide primary general or a general municipal election. So there's two ways to get this to the ballot. One is the voter initiative, which would be the voters that would collect signatures and qualify it. The other is city council action, where you take the proactive measure of drafting resolutions and the other required documents and placing it on the ballot. We have been, I think, through this with sales tax measures and TOT measures in the recent past, where same thing applies here. The city attorney would have to draft an impartial analysis. There's resolutions and ordinances that are drafted as well that would have to come back to the council. There's no real required structure. The state law doesn't mandate a specific format. Really, the term limits is a local policy decision. There are some things, again, that are in state law that we do have to adhere to, but for the most part, there's a lot of flexibility that the council would have in considering term limits. So common policy choices that cities have adopted are 2 or 3 year term limits. The lifetime or consecutive term limits are an option. You can have combined or separate limits, both for the mayor and for council seats. And then the other thing that you have to consider is how you treat partial terms. That's another one that you have to look at. Length of term limits. So most of what we see out there is 2 or 3 term limits. There are cities that have 1 or 4 year term limits. They're legally allowed, but they're very uncommon. And obviously a 2 year term limit right now for Paso Robles would be 8 years, and then a 3 year term is 12. When we talk about lifetime versus consecutive limits, of course, lifetime is once that limit is reached, you may never serve again. Consecutive limits require that cooling off period. We typically see 2 or 4 years. After a break, the individual may run again. Of course, if you're running for the same seat that you just termed out of, a 2 year break essentially means a 4 year period. And then you can look at combined limits for the mayor or council member, or separate limits for each office. There's examples up here, but really the combination of examples is as much as you want to think of. There's limits on, or combinations of mayor and council member, mayor, or just mayor, just council. You could do a 2-term for the mayor and 3-term for the council. It's really any combination that you want. Cities vary in terms of partial terms. This kind of gets into the weeds a little bit. Some do not count partial terms. Other count any portion of a term as a full term, and then there's the hybrid approach. So if you're in the seat for more than 2 years, that's considered a full term. Less than 2 years, it's not. And there are various reasons why that's put in place. If it's no fault of their own that an individual has to leave the seat, you want them to be able to come back maybe when they have an illness or something, to be able to come back. The other example would be on the other side, where you have an individual that is coming up on their term limit and resigns, but then files again to run because the term limit, the partial term limit doesn't count as a full term limit in terms of what we're talking about here. So that's a little bit in the weeds. Okay, this cut off a little bit, but what this is really showing you is that within the county, there are 2 cities that have term limits, and those are San Luis Obispo and Grover Beach. San Luis Obispo has, their mayor serves 2 year terms, and they have a max of 4 consecutive terms. Council, they serve 4 year terms, and they have a max of 2 consecutive terms. And then Grover Beach, their mayor serves 2 year terms with 2 consecutive terms as the limit, and then the council's 4 year terms with a max of 2 consecutive terms. And then they have a cooling off period on the council side of Grover Beach, where they're after 23-month break. So on the fiscal impact side, of course, there's no fiscal impact for discussion this evening. If this was to move to the ballot, it would incur an election cost. Typically, because this has to go with either a statewide election pretty much, we typically are able to share and spread cost a little bit more. So the costs are generally lower when you go in November. We are not able to get precise cost estimates for elections from the county. They're just not in a position to give us those. But off the top of my head, I'm not recalling what our last November election cost us, but there is cost to do that, and it's in the 5 figures. So council has a few different options before you tonight. One is to take no action, essentially say thank you for the information, we want to receive and file this and go on our merry way. Item number 2 would be direct staff to prepare a term limits measure and the election resolutions. Because, and why this is coming back to you now as opposed to maybe a little bit later this year is if you did have a desire to meet the November 3rd election in 2026, we have to get documents to the county roughly in July is probably our cutoff with our meeting schedule. Maybe a little bit later than that, but July is like a safe bet. And if we're going to get into the details of everything that I just covered real quickly, and I have another matrix here that'll show kind of all the policy decisions that have to be made, we would need to have this discussion, in the next few months to be able to dial it in. Or you also could provide alternative direction to staff to say, hey, why don't you come back in a year or something like that, and we can have another discussion, after the election that's coming up in 26. I put together a decision matrix which covers kind of the major areas that I just talked about and areas that you'll have to consider if you want to have this conversation, I think, in more detail. The first is, what offices are we going to cover with these term limits? Is it the mayor only, council only, combined mayor, city council? Are you going to have separate limits or the same limits? The number of terms, 2, 3, another tenure. What type of limit do you want to have, either the lifetime or the consecutive with a break? What type of cooling off period? Partial terms, how we handle partial terms. I think the adoption method at this point would be the council place to measure. And then, the election timing, just keeping that in mind, is the November 26th. We're saying that's the earliest feasible. I think we could technically go slightly earlier than June, but I think November is really when everything lines up to go. So we would have to have the documentation ready to go in July of 26. So I'll bring it back to this slide with some additional comments on number 2. Of course, your option 1 is to take no action. The option 2 would be direct staff to move forward with the preparation of those documents. Do we dig into those policy decisions tonight and spend time doing that this evening? Do you establish an ad hoc committee to have that conversation should you so choose? Really, time is of the essence either way. I know July seems like a long way off, but it really isn't when we're having these types of discussions. And then, of course, alternative 3 is always out there for you to provide us other direction. I went through that very quickly. I'm happy to revisit any of the slides. We also have with us tonight online, I believe, Jim Priest from BB&K. He is an elections guru. And has handled term limit discussions in a variety of other cities and has helped prep the discussion for this evening too. So he is on the line and available to answer technical questions that are outside of my area. So with that, Mayor, I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I think that the last time that we ever did anything on limits was proposed it to the public was, I think, 2010, 2012, somewhere in there, where we changed the 2-year mayoral term to 4 years. And I know many other cities would love to see that as well, but it has to go through the public. So I think that's the last time I remember seeing anything happening. First off, we'll go ahead and open up questions then from council. Chris Bouch.
Sort of a procedural question. If council from BBK could share how other cities handle a cooling off period. Is that something that if someone terms out and then decides to run again, are they prevented from running, or how does that work? They just can't sign up to run again, file papers? They have to wait 2 years or 4 years?
Jim may be able to give some more details, but generally it's you serve your 2 terms, if that's what the term limits are, and then the cooling off period is 2 years, so you're not eligible to run again. You can't file papers.
Until the 2 years is up?
Yeah.
So it's effectively a 4-year?
Here it would be effectively a 4-year
Okay.
term,
Thank
or a 4-year cooling off period.
Thanks.
Jim, did I get that right? Is there anything else?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yes, Elizabeth. Because your seats elect every 4 years and you're by district, a 4-year cooling off period is practically what you would have with consecutive term limits, unless, say, you had a 2-year cooling off period in your ordinance, somebody say moved districts, but that's a pretty extraordinary action. For practical purposes, 4 years would be the cooling off period in a consecutive term limit system.
So if someone moved from one district to another, does that restart the clock, or does that still?
Hypothetically, and I have not ever seen it done, if the measure had a 2-year cooling off period. Now, if you are, for example, in District 1, and District 1 just elected, that district will not elect again for 4 years. So if you are in the cooling off period, whether the measure says 2 or 4, for practical purposes, that seat simply will not be back up again for 4 years. But if you had a 2-year cooling off period in your measure, and say District 2 were going to elect in 2 years, you could hypothetically run for that. But again, I've never seen it done. That takes a very extraordinary action to move in order to run, in order to take advantage of a 2 versus a 4-year cooling off period. So it's a pretty extraordinary thing, and I've not seen it done. With most by district elected cities, it's a 4-year cooling off period.
And then just to add, I believe, you could clarify that if you were in your cooling off period for council, but you had separate and distinct term limit requirements for the mayor, you theoretically could run for the mayor's seat if the term limits were structured that way.
Right, you could go from council member to mayor. Yeah.
That is correct. If you bifurcated the term limit, so there was a separate mayoral term limit and separate council limit, as opposed to a combined limit on all elected service, then yes, conceivably, if you were termed out as a council member, you could run for mayor, and vice versa.
Also, you could actually, we could say cooling off period 1 year, correct? I mean, there's an option to do that, which then allows that particular individual to start in the following year to run again, within not having to wait 4 versus 2, correct?
A 1-year cooling, an odd number cooling off period generally does not happen. It's a cooling off period that will sync up with an election cycle. So typically it's 2 or 4 years. We don't do them in 1s or 3s since that's the off election year. So if you have a 2-year cooling off period, you have termed out in 2026, you could run again in 2028 for a suitable office. If you, on the other hand, with a 4-year cooling off period, you would have to wait until 2030.
Right.
But a 1 or a 3 puts you in 27 or 29, and those are election years, and so that's not typically done.
I think a lot of our bylaws with advisory bodies is once they term limit out, they have to stay off, I think, 1 cycle. Or is it just 2 years? I'm not sure, not that it matters here with our level, but I think we already have something like that where there's a cooling off period where you can reapply to an advisory body, same way. Pro Tem Gregory.
Yeah, I just have a technical question. So if someone serves their 2 terms and terms out and nobody runs for their seat, does that just go to an appointment process at the council?
If somebody is termed out, term limit measures, modern term limit measures typically provide, now again, the city could propose a measure that does differently, but most modern term limit measures that I've written and that I have worked on and I've seen provide that if you are termed out, you cannot run for office, nor can you be appointed to that office in lieu of an election. There is a special process. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. What happens if a seat is up for election, a natural 4-year seat election, and nobody or only one person files nomination papers? There is a process where that seat can be appointed, not guaranteed, but it can be in lieu of an election. Typical term limits measures provide that you can't be appointed in that circumstance any more than you could run for that seat for the term limits to actually be enforceable under both circumstances. And typically term limit measures would also provide that if you are termed out or if you are in a cooling off period, that you are not eligible to be vacancy appointed to fill a seat either. Although again, that is a policy call of the city and how they want to craft the measure. I'm just telling you that typically, once you're termed out or you're in a cooling off period, you are not eligible for any running for an office or appointment, vacancy or otherwise, to that office until you finish the cooling off period. Or in the case of a lifetime term limit, you just simply can't. You're termed out.
And another question, typically when you, let's say we have 2 4-year terms and you term out, do cities typically separate the mayor from the council so that if somebody terms out after 2 terms, they can run for mayor?
That really depends on the community. You know, one of the interesting things about term limits is a lot of communities do it in different ways. And I've seen a lot of them do combined limits for mayoral and council, and I've seen some where they do bifurcate them. I don't know that I could provide you a distinct pattern one way or the other, because everybody kind of does it a little differently.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Beal.
Thank you. We saw a matrix of how this is working in a couple of other jurisdictions in our county. What are you seeing statewide in terms of how people are handling term limits? Different jurisdictions that might be comparable in our size, the fact that we have districts?
You know, again, I can't tell you any particularly discernible pattern. These are issues that come up in cities up and down the state. I haven't noticed that, you know, a lot more are happening in the last 10 years as compared to maybe the prior 10 years. It really is a community by community determination here.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up then to the public. Anybody wishing to address this item? Dale?
Hey, Augustine, I've served on a lot of nonprofits, and when we started the United Way in this county, we were merging in with an existing nonprofit called Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And there was going to be a lot of very old, long-term board members in the combined board. So I put term limits in the bylaws. And most nonprofits, it is controlled by the bylaws. But, you know, in the nonprofits, people don't get elected. You people get elected. So the downside of term limits is you're taking away the chance to get voted out of office because the people don't like your decisions. So I'm not going to express an opinion of what you should do. I'm going to leave that up to you. And I think your staff has pretty well analyzed your choices. The Board of Supervisors, to my knowledge, does not have a term limit. Harry Ovitz served almost 20 years. And Frank Meacham, he ran against him and he replaced him. But I don't think Barney Schwartz had a term limit.
No.
Barney Schwartz is my favorite mayor, and he served a long time, and he did a great job. No offense to the current council, but I really liked Barney. I had an issue on the zoning issue that Barney was against rezoning on Creston Road, and the attorney for Chandler tried to get an ordinance or a referendum to have it rezoned. You know, that attorney wasn't as smart as he thought he was. He didn't put a legal address. He didn't put a street address. He put an APN number, and guess what? He put the wrong APN number. Well, my client owned the property just west of that development, which was previously zoned residential. And we met out at the country club with Barney, and Barney had a dilemma because he knew the public wanted the rezoning, but he could defeat it by the fact that the referendum was illegal. And so my guy said, I proposed that he get his zoning in perpetuity recorded against his deed. And at the next council meeting, Barney let the change in zoning pass. That's how smart Barney was.
Michael, welcome.
Michael Rivera. I really support term limits, and let me explain why. I get the fact that incumbency has pluses and minuses, but one of the big problems with incumbency is it puts average people at a great disadvantage because of the incumbency, because of the ability of that particular individual, because of context, because of a number of other things that are associated with that. And before I go any further, I want to thank Steve Gregory for even bringing this to the table. I think it's good. I think it allows the public to understand that there is discussion about this and there's concern whether this is a good or bad idea. But I think incumbency and just name recognition is a great disadvantage. And what we need to do, and the problem with our republic, I believe, is we don't have average citizens coming and becoming part of the system and serving. And we need to have greater turnover so that the average person can feel like they have an even shot at that seat. And if they do, I think you'd have more of an opportunity to include more people. And I think one of the biggest problems with the republic now is that we have so much incumbency, especially at the higher levels of government, that people get cynical and they lose trust because they think the system's rigged. And I don't think anybody wants that for a free republic. I think we all want to maintain our freedoms and liberties, and the way to do that is to mix things up and to get different ideas and to get different energy as part of that. And even in your own little way, in our little city, I think we can lead on this and show the public that we're not in fear. If you have good ideas and you believe that they're good, you should be able to get your ideas and things done within 2 terms. I'm a firm believer in that. And if you can't, then that tells me you're not very effective. And you ought to just retire anyway and go do something else. So, people who want to serve, I have a lot of respect for because they take that step, but we don't have enough people doing that. And we need more people coming forward and getting involved in the process. Because there's a lot of good ideas and there's a lot of good people out there. And we need to give them the opportunity to serve as well. And I hope that you guys will take this opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Sharon, welcome.
Sharon Roden, I'm speaking as a private individual. I think Chris and I both can attest to it being a very steep learning curve for somebody who has nothing against you. I'm just saying we both have enjoyed that. It is a lot to learn in a very short period of time, and I relied upon those people who had the experience before me. Mr. Strong, most especially. His gift to me was his knowledge, that he has had involvement since he was 15 years old. And I got to hear the stories, and I enjoyed them. If you have not served on Planning Commission, on other committees, and you come in cold to the City Council, it's just a whole lot to learn. And I think again, Mr. Strong serves on a lot of outside committees, as Mr. Gregory as well with LAFCO, and our mayor is on a lot of committees. That takes time to understand and to get a broad awareness. And that is if you're competent to begin with. And my concern is we have 2 things working against us, 3 things. We're a relatively small town. We have districts. That limits people even more. And you don't earn a huge salary being on the council. So somebody who's working full time and wants to do a good job on the council, it's almost prohibitive. So I understand the reason for term limits, I think, of Willie Brown. And just couldn't get rid of him, and they passed term limits in order to do so. But they found problems within that. You have inexperience coming in to an experienced staff, and if they are not willing to work with you, and we don't have one of those staffs, we're very fortunate. They've been nothing but helpful. But I think it's quite a climb, and sometimes you can't achieve things in 4, 6, or 8 years just because of timelines in government and things that you want to get done. They don't move quickly like you do in your own personal life. Anyway, just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online, Melissa?
Yes, sir. Linda George.
Linda, go ahead. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. I think Ms. Roden just proved why we need term limits. If you can't learn a job in a year, then you shouldn't be there. Or if you don't have a heart to serve, or you don't take the time, Priscilla, to read your agenda, okay, and not make the staff explain it to you every meeting. Anyways, I have 4 concerns. The pay for your position is $1,200, okay? I would suggest not to follow San Luis Obispo because they are a charter city. And charter cities are able to make their own laws. I've read Oakland's charter, and their whole prop and term limits has decimated their own city, okay? But by history, I voted for you, Mayor Hammond, because nobody ran against you when you ran for District 1. So by history, nobody runs here. I just ran, and I got ransacked with some faux conspiracy story. If I wasn't a very strong woman, that would have absolutely deterred me to never come back again, but I'm not that person. So my only concern is that this will lead, especially since by history nobody runs against the incumbents, to more appointments. So we know by appointment in Paso Robles history, Mayor Hammond, it's nepotism. So I'm not concerned about term limits. I'm concerned about the appointment portion because I don't know an election since I've been here, Mayor Hammond, that anybody ran against you. And that's how you were appointed to mayor. Okay, but I think once again, whoever runs for this, there needs to be a little compensation higher than $1,200 a month, especially when BBK is raking in $224. I mean, my God, we pay them so much. There could be more salaries for staff. Point being, if you can work out the kinks on appointments where they cannot be nepotism or people that from the Planning Commission or friends, what we've been witnessing for the last 4 years. I think it's important that we have term limits for people like Roden and Ms. Bill who cannot learn their job or read their agendas, and then they get a consolation prize of being on the Planning Commission. All that needs to end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll bring it back then to council for discussion and/or direction to staff. Who would like to start?
I'll open my mouth.
Protein Gregory.
So from my personal view, I like the idea of 2 terms, and you do it both for city council and for mayor. And I just think it's really healthy for our government to be that way. I think as our population's growing, we're going to have I hope more people wanting to run. Hopefully not in District 3. 3 was enough. But I think I want to encourage people to be part of the city because it's such an important job, and it's really good to share. It's good to have no offense to Fred and your long-term service, but I like the fresh blood, so to speak, and I'd like to also see it, people be able to go and after 2 terms as a city council, maybe move on to mayor or whatever. But that's my 2 cents worth. I think that if someone's appointed, it should not be counted as a term. Sort of they get a little jump start on learning their job. But those are my 2 cents worth.
Okay. Chris, you want to start or good to?
Let them go first.
Okay, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, and you can turn the mic on.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I don't want to get feedback. A lot of places have term limits, Not as many as you think, more don't. And there's a reason they don't. And that is if you really know your government all the way up. At the state and federal level, they require a certain number of years there before you're even eligible to hold any major position. Usually that's 6 to 8 years before you're even eligible to start in a position. And then you have a learning curve there. So people who put term limits like are being proposed here have eliminated this city from any leadership positions at the state or federal level ever again. We can never have a major position in the state or federal, which means we lose our influence in order to get the money and the legislation and the things we need from those places in order to have the type of city we have now. That has nothing to do with me, because if these were put in at my age, it won't affect me at all. Not unless I live to be 120. So, so I'm not worried. But it's not about me. It's about what's the right thing to do. We learned just at the last election that there are term limits. They're called elections because we had a change in an office because of an election. And that could happen again. It's happened in the past. It's going to happen in the future. And that's why we have elections. Every single election is a term limit. And that's up to the people then to decide. So what we do, and we put in term limits artificially, is we take away from the people their ability to choose their own leaders. And I think that's wrong, because you don't only get rid of the bad eggs, you get rid of the good ones too. And sometimes that can be tragic. So it's not going to affect me no matter what you do. I'm not going to worry about it. But for your own good, I think this is a bad idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Councilman Belch, you'd like to, I'm looking your way.
I generally not in favor of term limits. I agree with Mr. Strong and with Ms. Roden. I think elections take care of that. I think the founding fathers saw fit not to put term limits in. I think the first term limit came about in 1948 with Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, trying to prevent him from a fourth term. I think that's my recollection. Roosevelt, thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so sorry. Thank you for the correction. I think elections do a really good job of deciding what the voters want. If this comes back, I would want to see longer term limits. Again, just to preserve the public's right to choose. And I would be in favor of bifurcating council and mayor, just to keep those completely separate. And in a very short cooling off period, because I think the voters are being disenfranchised if we put the term limits in.
Councilmember Beal.
Yeah, this is an interesting conversation. I am conflicted in a few different ways. I see conflicting principles looking at this, right? I think we definitely need evolving and growing leadership to be getting involved with city service, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. I think it's important to have the changing town be reflected and represented by changing representation. I think there's value. There are also, now sitting up here, there is value in continuity, in being able to have a relationship with your colleagues and the people that you're working with. Disruption, I think, could be quite unproductive and dangerous. So I'm conflicted. I don't have I didn't hear from a lot of people on this to see, to test the water. I'm curious what people are thinking. I don't think we need to be talking about the details. I think if, in general, if we're going to explore it further, we would go to an ad hoc and kind of hammer out some of that. But there are pluses and minuses to both. And yes, the learning curve is steep. It is very steep. And everybody up here, 90% of what they do, you all don't know. It's not on Tuesday nights, or Wednesday in this case. So.
I'll weigh in then. Again, I think the question here is we already have term limits, as Fred just mentioned too, every 4 years. It's a term. I think what the question is here is consecutive terms. And to me, I'm in my 5th term. I'm definitely finished. This is my last with Fred, I think. But at this point, what I've seen in those 20 years is that you need the history, you need that depth of knowledge of what happened before, not relying on staff for so many of the answers. What ends up, I think, happens, and I've seen it several times, is that elected officials who don't get into their position deep, they just expect to make a few decisions and not really study like they should and understand the history and really what's good for the city. They rely on staff at that point to tell them what's best. And that's not really what we're here for. We bring the public's information to this table, we discuss it with input from the podium, and then we make decisions on their behalf. So I think with regard to terms, we do have term limits, and it's every 4 years. And that's the public's choice. If they feel like that individual is moving forward with the way they want to see, so be it, let them get reelected. If not, let them change it out. The other problem too is that now we're in districts. It doesn't take that many votes to get elected. And sometimes you have individuals who speak well and look good, but maybe not really in the best interest of the city, will get into a position where they're making decisions, maybe not on the behalf of their district nor the city. So I think, again, there's remedies for that, recall, other things that can be done, but it takes time, money to do that. So it's important. I think every vote should count. People should understand that their duty as a voter is to research and understand who they're putting in that position, and that's done every 4 years. The flip side of it is, too, after now 20 years now, this is my 20th year, I feel pretty comfortable about having a good base of knowledge about all these things that I've been taught and learned and made votes on over these many years. And somebody that comes in that doesn't remember what we did on a particular item, 6, 8, 10 years ago, unless he does his research, he's got to rely on somebody else to make that reference to the way he should vote. So I think it's important that we, have availability of new voices, but I also like to see people in the city come on to Planning Commission, all these different opportunities to gain leadership and understanding of how the city works and move up to this level. That's what Meacham did with me originally, is that I was on Planning Commission and he saw what I was doing apparently and said, you need to move up, you need to try this. And, it's always nice to have a pat on the back and say, yeah, I can do that. But then when you actually get into the seat, you really figure out how much time this takes. It really takes a lot. Not just this particular meeting. There are many other meetings that I've sat on all these commissions and things for all these past years. And it's important to those county level agencies also to have that history. So to me, I think, as far as this question, we need to answer it, take no action, or are we going to go ahead and move forward with staff bringing back something further for discussion that the public then will take and vote on. So keep on discussion. Fred Strong.
One thing if I could, and that is just a correction, and I know that it was well-intentioned, it wasn't intentional, but public should know that our salary is actually $700 a month, and the rest of that money is actually expenses for our travel and things that we have to do to go to various meetings and things like that. That's part of our expenses. But the salary, the stipend, as they call it at the state level, is $700 or 750? Is it up to 750 now, Carnell? There's 700. Okay.
We're certainly not doing this, obviously, for the money. That,
For 1,250.
absolutely not. So, council direction, what do we want to do here with this item?
Well, it's 3 to 1.5, so I think take no action because we don't have, I mean, everybody's made good reasons for why we should keep it longer, and I brought the idea up because I like it, but I'm okay not liking it too. It's okay, whatever, so. I say no action, because nobody's got conviction, and it's all good.
Okay, you want to make a little quick motion then to direct staff on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Will we take no action?
Second.
Motion by Pro Tem Gregory, second by Strong, to take no action on this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Stand, all right, good. All right. Move on then to city manager's report. Mr. Huat.
Thank you, Mayor. First, Happy New Year to everyone. Great to see everyone back for 2026. Just 3 items this evening for your awareness and for the community's awareness. The first is this week on the 15th, tomorrow. Please don't take South River Road. You won't be able to. It's going to be closed from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. This is due to work that PG&E is doing to upgrade some lines on the road. We've sent out, and I know PG&E has sent out notices about this, and I know there's message boards up, I believe, as well. But the road will be closed for the entire day, the entire road, both directions. So please be prepared to use alternative routes. On the transportation side of things, I wanted to recognize our engineering division, and Leslie Frazier and her team through the work of, through partnership with Townsend Public Affairs and their grant writer, I was able to secure a $150,000 grant for the city, and this is going to update our local road safety plan that has been adopted for several years. And this is going to look at several road segments and look for ways to make those roads safer for all users. And it's a data-driven process that involves also stakeholder analysis and audits. But anytime we can bring in grant money back to the city, it's a good thing, and this is one of those good things. And then finally, I'm really happy to announce to everyone, I think formally this is going to go out tomorrow or later this week, but we are bringing back the Coffee with the City Manager series. We're going to call it Coffee with the City moving forward because it's not just me, it's a large team that's bringing presentations and information to that event, but it's going to be same time, same place. We're going to kick off on Friday, January 30th at 7:30 a.m. over at the Patina Room at Cowcoast downtown. That's at 1346 Railroad. And this first session is going to be kind of a catch-up for everybody since we haven't seen that group in a while. And it's going to be a look back at the work we did in 2025, just a quick glimpse into the future on kind of what our outlook is for 26. And then I plan on having some key staff that we've brought on over the last year there to introduce to the community and put faces and names out there for the community. So again, January 30th, 7:30 a.m., Patina Room at Cowcoast. Free coffee and probably some donuts, and no pre-registration required. Just come as you are. And there will be plenty of opportunity for engagement and dialogue. So look forward to seeing everyone. And with that, Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Chris. Moving on, we have council business and committee reports. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Ms. Beal? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, thank you for the invitation to attend the Warbirds event. Boy, if you haven't, I haven't been there in a while, but if you haven't been, it's really, really a gem for our community, and I highly encourage visiting. I want to pass along a special thank you to community development and all of the work that you're doing with the Paso Robles Housing Authority. It is recognized, it is a lot of work, and it's so important that that got explicitly mentioned in the last set of goals and objectives that sort of provides you guidance to do that. I actually did a ride along with the fire department. I got to attend one medical call, and then I was able to observe an entire department training, which was amazing. It was extrication day, and I can tell you that those tools are very heavy. They're like a very awkward kettlebell. They're over 50 pounds. But I was so impressed, really at every level of the department, the commitment to training, the roles that people play in cross-training with other jurisdictions and on other teams. And the chief offered to let me come along for a major incident because apparently he's IC for the region. So not that we want a major incident, but if there is one, I will take him up on that. And again, just to remind the community that there are lots and lots of ways to be serving our community and to make it a better place. We've got the Riverwalk cleanup on Saturday with Earthshine, MLK Day of Service on Monday, the point in time count next week. I have an Adopt a Street. You can join me to pick up trash. You can serve a meal at Echo. You can lead a class at the library, park, senior. There are lots and lots of ways. So we stay in the solution, and the solution gets better. Thank you for letting me be of service.
All right, thank you, Chris. Moving to the other end, Councilmember Bausch.
Thank you. Along with Mayor Hammond, attended the Templeton Paso Robles Chamber of Commerce membership mixer at the new Anderson venue. A beautiful place. Look forward to that coming online soon. Attended the New Year's Eve bonfire downtown park. Thank you, Frida. Thank you, staff. Thank you, the fire department, all the volunteers, especially all the revelers who made that night yet again so memorable in spite of the rain. Met with Councilmember Beal on the 221 SLO County Mental Health Services. Received an update on their potential plan for a building here in Paso Robles. Later that afternoon, Paso Robles Youth Commission, and then with Councilmember Beal and Mayor Hammond, headed over to Estrella Warbird Museum for a tour of the new Red Ball Express motor pool exhibit. I'm a fairly frequent visitor out there, but not nearly often enough. There are so many changes out there, so if you haven't, I agree with you. Need to be out there a lot more often. On Thursday, the 8th, I attended the Paso Robles Library Board of Trustees meeting. A little bit later in the morning, there was swearing in of new employees, and I hope I'm not breaching protocol, but a library employee, Karen Christensen, was recognized for her 40 years of service to the library. So just a shout out to Karen and a big thank you. Attended, privileged and honored to attend the Rosary and Funeral Mass in honor of one of the greatest servants that Paso Robles has known, Norma Moy. Thank you, Norma, for bringing life back to Paso, for sustaining us beyond what anybody could imagine. Again, condolences to Norma's family, her friends, the Historical Society, and of course, to Main Street. Unfortunately, I was absent from this week's Senior Advisory and our Parks and Recreation Committees. My apologies. I understand, and just to call out to everyone's attention, the survey for the Senior Advisory Committee has published. That's out there, that's live. Please find that online, fill that out, and let us know what you're thinking. And then today, some of us were able to take a tour of one of Paso's hidden gems, pistol grip and knife manufacturer known as Hogue Inc. Thank you to Mr. Pat Hogue for his time this morning sharing the history, the nuts and bolts of his fascinating enterprise, the plans for the future, and especially for maintaining a world-class manufacturing facility here in Paso Robles and all of the jobs that go along with it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Strong.
Yes, thank you. And I was with Councilman Bausch at that library meeting, of course, and mostly reorganization looking toward next year. Because of all the disruption here at City Hall, of the construction, attendance was down a little bit, but still holding pretty well, and a lot of activity still occurring. So it's very encouraging. We also were together at the Youth Council, and they were getting ready for this year and planning a lot of things, and they're active in doing their recruiting, as we saw here tonight. Amazing little group that does so much volunteering. They're unbelievable. Other than that, it's been relatively quiet this time of year, but it's about to heat up. So next week, I'll be representing our city again up at the League of California Cities in Sacramento, where I sit on the Transportation Committee, and we will be talking about roads, of course, and rail and air and everything else. So everything to do with transportation and infrastructure. And also we deal with public works. So that'll be an interesting committee meeting next week in Sacramento. And just immediately following that, I'll be flying back to Washington, D.C. to represent our regional government at the National Association of Regions. And there I sit on the board of directors representing all of the cities of the United States, or the National League of Cities. Again, dealing mostly with transportation, but also we deal with housing and other issues as well. So we will deal with that. We are planning some meetings with two of our congressmen. They're both agreed that they would like to meet with us. We'll be meeting with some other congressmen as well as some members of the administration on transportation and some of the other things. And that's where we get the money back for our state, which will then be able to pass it down to us. We don't do a whole lot on the grants because that's a whole special thing, except to make sure that there's money there for the grants. That's our role there. So we will handle that. This week, there was a meeting of SLOCOG, our regional government here, and that was immediately followed our regular meeting where I was reappointed to all of my national and state positions representing them, including the rail, of course, where I'm president and chairman of the board now of the Pacific Surfliner Railroad, and moving ahead with that. Still dealing with the tragic accidents that we're having almost every week with, unfortunately, mostly teenagers jumping in front of the trains to commit suicide, which traumatizes our crews, traumatizes the passengers, disrupts our schedules. It's very sad. And we're still hoping that we can get Union Pacific and some of the other railroads to put fencing up along those rights-of-way to keep these people off the tracks. And we're still having a tough time convincing them to do that, unfortunately. So other than that, I will be going back, as I said, to the national meeting, and we'll do everything we can there. And we did have this meeting just this week. Well, actually, it was yesterday, all morning, and that was at SLOCOG. It was our annual meeting with the public and with all of our advisory committees and the staff, and we were looking at the next 40 years, mostly the next 20 years, where we're going to get the money from, how we're going to use it, and mostly, of course, it's for regional roads. But what was very strongly emphasized was that we have to deal with all of our regions. Mostly we're dealing just with Paso Robles, Atascadero, San Luis Obispo, Grover Beach, Rio Grande. And that's what we're dealing with. And then a little bit of it out of Highway 46, of course, trying to get it all the way over to the Kern County line. And we work closely with Caltrans on that. But what we're neglecting right now is 46 West and all of the need they have for roads too, in order to get to the only hospital they have, which is in Templeton. So they have to get 46 West to get there. Same thing for Cayucas, Cambria, San Simeon. All of these places are being neglected right now, and we have to move ahead and help them as well. We can't just think only of ourselves, because even our people like to go other places. We don't just stay within our own city limits. We go everywhere. So we have to think beyond just ourselves and think of others, as we do even here in our city council. We don't just think within our districts. We have to deal with the issues of the entire city. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Steve Gregory.
pretty short report for not being busy. Hey, I attended a meeting with the county health department also, 221s, on the mental health potential coming up to help our community. Had lunch with John Pashong, our supervisor, and John Hammond, talking about a myriad of things, including library cards and on and on. It's good to have a friend in that location. Attended the senior advisory committee. They're doing well. They're actually putting out I guess a survey of how their services are going and what they can improve on. And I think bridge came up a couple times on that one, so that ought to make you feel good. And then we toured the Hogue manufacturing facility, which is very interesting. It's a family business, long time, and they do a lot of amazing things and provide a great economy for our local community. So that was a great pleasure to see all that. And tomorrow I'm going to be at LAFCO on my final day as chair. And on that day, we're doing a review of Paso Robles. Are you making the presentation?
Darcy Delgado will represent the city
Okay,
there.
good. So it's kind of fun to sit back and hand over the gavel and get to watch that one. So that'd be real nice. And then my final comment, besides Happy New Year and thank you to all the staff for New Year's Eve. On Sunday night, on the 11th of January, Augie and I took the last walk with the lights for Christmas together. He loves that. He made me walk every single night. So it was nice to have it up and glad to see our regular lights back, but it was very nice. So thank you for all of the city council and our community for hosting those lights every year. That's it.
Yeah, I took one more lap around the park before Sunday night. That was pretty fun, too. For me, I will say, I attended Norma's vigil and rosary, and I'm glad I did something. It was the park lighting that night in the gazebo when we were all there, and I looked over her, and she looked kind of down a little bit, so I said, now's the time to recognize Norma. So I'm glad I did that. I mean, it was important to me that she, never knew what's around the corner, but in just a few days after that, she was gone. So I think it was a good send-off, and I know she's up there right now telling us all, take it from here. I think that would be what I'd be hearing her say to Main Street, take it from here, guys. So we were thinking of the Vanderlip family, of course, and have them in our prayers for continuing thoughts. I also attended the Wine Country Alliance year-end meeting, the chamber Christmas party that Mr. Bausch was with me, the garbage and ball. We did a lot of different events, parties and things that we saw a lot of our colleagues, elected officials at. The Supervisor Pashong was at the meeting there with Gregory as well. We have those monthly meetings that are very important to have that communications. Vine Street Showcase was beautiful. Of course, we did the Christmas parade, all those annual events here in our city that really make our town a hometown. The Warbirds Red Ball Express, Herman from Santa Barbara, a gentleman that has donated so much to our museum. That's those vehicles that he collected over many, many, many years since World War II are living history of what that happened during that time, and I'm very appreciative that he decided to have them stay here in Paso Robles for the remainder of their life. So get to see a lot of that, and our young kids can understand really what that generation went through. I also attended the military ball, King City. That was really fun. We had it here last year, and they ended up having Mayor King City had it there over the weekend, and it's very amazing. If you've never been to a military ball, there's a procedure how they do everything, and it's amazing how their grog especially, everybody puts in their particular liquor, and it's quite an event. Also attended the swearing in. Mr. Huap, you very adequate and bringing in, I think, 2 new PD officers. And we also had our new Assistant City Manager, David Malowitz, sworn in. And good to see them on board. And that's basically it I had. I'll go to upcoming events. We have city facilities going to be closed, of course, this next Monday for Martin Luther King Day, and that's January 19th. We're going to have an event in the park. Linda's already gone, but it's going to be pretty well organized, starting at, I think, 9 o'clock, 9 to 10 o'clock in the park. And then we have the Development Review Committee meeting January 26th at 4 p.m. Paso Robles Planning Commission meeting is going to be January 27th here in this room at 6:30. The Development Review Committee, again, DRC, meeting again February 2nd at 4 p.m. Our next meeting is going to be here in this room, I call it the bowling alley, at February 3rd, 6 p.m. And, one other thing too, I'll say this, the Toast to Norma, a week from tomorrow, Thursday, January 22nd, it's going to be at the Park Cinemas at 5:30, so show up there and you can raise a glass to Norma. Yeah, they asked to bring your favorite.
Vintage.
Also, I'll add this too, Chris just mentioned, we're going to have Coffee with the City, starting again, I guess, is that the last Friday of the month that kind of we're planning, Chris? It's January 30th at 7:30, but is it generally going to be the last Friday, or?
We typically try to hold it in the later half of the month. I can't commit that it's going to be the last Friday every time, just because we're subject to the venue's schedule as well.
Right.
Sometimes. So, but generally, it's always going to be on a Friday. It's typically one of the last 2 Fridays of the month, and it'll always be at 7:30 a.m.
Well, we'll bring it up on upcoming events, always at our meetings anyway, to alert everybody who wants to come and ask questions of our staff. That's a great opportunity to do that, so. Unless anybody else, I think, this is the first time we've met since Norma's gone, so I'd like to adjourn in the name of Norma Moy. I mean, that's most appropriate, I think, at this point, with all the work that she did for our city.
Second.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. We stand adjourned.
Hey, Chris, not going to meet with you for Friday.
Can I bend your ear when we're up in Sacramento?
Sure.
Okay. Just for me? Or just for
I
them?
guess, I don't know. Half down here.
Oh, okay.
There's a
Just-
couple of,
That was just, I guess, that was
there
submitted.
was somebody venting.
Is that for me, Chris?
I think it was something that got passed out to staff.